Jump to page 12. With a few more pages and we up out of here. You know, the next man, you know. Go ahead.
Your Majesty, the bishop began, I bring troubling news from Alexandria.
So now we go, they stirring up again. These followers of Christ is back at it again. Go ahead.
Infighting continues between
What did he say?
Christians. Infighting continues between Christians.
Right.
The situation is more serious than I thought.
Right.
Are they still quarreling whether Yahushua is God or not? Yes, sir. Sire, and the arguments have escalated to physical force. Street fighting has turned deadly, and both sides are committed.
So they out there bodying people over what they believe. So this, like people are arguing today. So here it is. You see, they got the fighting, and you see this is all over the city. They out there bodying people over what they believe about Christ. Come on. So,
and that person must know that if a person come to you like that, he must really know you weak and you don't believe in Yahushua. Because if somebody come to me and say that, I might just smack the shit out of him, for real.
Straight up. Straight up. Straight up.
You know what I mean? So for anybody to come at you like that, they know you weak.
Yeah, I wish I said they remember me. We feed them bruise and we face the heat. Ready, aim, fire on the enemy.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Shalom, shalom. First off, I just want to give all praise and glory and honor to Yahweh Bashima Mashiach Yahushua. You know, for time, you already know. All praises. So I'll be getting into you know, some historical documentations. I want to start off with the Book of Babylon in Timbuktu, page 85. There's a reason why I'm doing that, because we're going to talk about a Roman emperor by the name of Trajan. Okay, and I'm sure you've heard of Pliny the Wonder, or in Pliny the Younger. So we'll be talking about that. Yeah, I said wonder. Yeah. So we're gonna get to page 85 at the bottom. It says, under Roman suzerainty and power, the Jews of Asia. Yeah. Here we go. Babylon, Timbuktu. You can get on PDF if you don't have the book. I'm reading at the bottom, page 85.
That boy, book about to fall apart.
Man. The book look like it's been used.
It says the Jews of Asia and North Africa rebelled AD 115. So if you're taking notes, write down that date because it's going to be very important. AD 115. It says the Jews considered themselves numerous enough to challenge Roman authority in the east and the south. Because of their numbers, the Jews almost subdued their adversaries, who had compelled them to suffer many atrocities and indignities. Emperor Trajan, keep that in mind, sent his general Turbo to bring law and order. Instead of bringing law and order, the act of suppression of the insurrection brought a massacre, because you learn that they end up persecuting a lot of the Jews, and sometimes in history were called Christians by the populace. It says the suppression of rebellion under the slogan of law and order may be good in principle, but a good thing may be carried too far. So it was in this case. The pagans and the Romans attacked the Jews indiscriminately. Both the Jewish or Israelite soldiers and the uninvolved peaceful population without mercy. As a result of this merciless attack that they, came down and attacked us, many Israelites fled to those parts of Northwest Africa known as Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritania. Many other Jews fled in areas where Rome did not have any jurisdiction. This was to the region of the south, the Sahara Desert, and the Sudan. So when Trajan was persecuting us, many of us had fled. The next thing I want to bring out real quick, because I'm on Trajan, this is a book called Imperial Rome. All right, and on page 64, you get to see all of the Roman emperors that ruled. And you have Trajan right here. You see that at the bottom right there. You got Emperor Trajan. And it tell you that Emperor Trajan, what's the date where it said that he ruled right there?
Trajan, 98 to 117. What's this, AD?
AD. So with that being said, we finna get into the next book, Pliny the Younger. All right, Pliny the Younger is the next book that I'm bringing out. All right. Man, I'm trying to tell you.
I'm about to go to Amazon with the quickness.
So we did see that Trajan ruled. We see in Babylon, Timbuktu, they spoke about him, and in the Roman records, they spoke of Emperor Trajan, which is very important. Okay, so I'm going to get in the beginning of the book real quick first. Now, remember, these were enemies of who we call Christ, enemies of Christ's followers, the disciples who were called Christians by the populace, which I'm sure you probably read earlier in Zonovan Dictionary as well. Okay, cool. So there's no need to grab that. Oh, you didn't? Okay, grab the Zonovan Compact Bible Dictionary. We're going to look at the definition of Antioch on page 46. Let's grab that right quick.
Can I say something real quick, brother?
Made it easy for me.
Page 46.
Can I say one thing, brother, to add to that? Can I say one thing? The thing is, if Yahushua didn't exist, then where did the whole Christian movement come from? Where did all these Christians come from back then? If Yahushua didn't exist, common sense.
Straight up. All right, so let's go ahead and get it.
This is Antioch.
The Zonovan Compact Bible Dictionary, the definition of Antioch.
Gotta get your tools.
It came from the Pisa family.
Right.
You want me to read the
Let's
disciples?
get it.
The disciples were called Christians first in Antioch.
So notice that the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. Come on.
Acts 11, 1926.
Come on.
A designation,
Right.
probably coming from the populace.
So it's letting you know that those people that lived in Antioch probably coming from the populace, the population of people. What does it say about those people?
Who were well known.
They what?
Who were well known.
So they had a reputation. They were well known for what?
For their inventions of nicknames.
So Christian was a what?
Nickname.
So it was a nickname that was given to these Israelites. All right. So with that being said, we're going to the same book. Are you? Pliny the Younger. All right. So it says, I'm going to start. We're going to start in. It says his consensuous investigation of the growth and practice of the new religion reveals that it had already existed in the province as early as 90 AD. He states that there are numerous Christians of all ages, every rank and both sexes. They assembled at dawn on a fixed day of the week. Oh, sounds like the Sabbath. To sing a hymn and to finally to Christ as God, and to bind themselves by an oath to avoid acts of theft, that's don't steal, brandage, robbing, and adultery, not to break their word, and not to withhold money deposited with them when asked for it. Following the ceremony, they departed, but again assembled to take food. This was probably the agate, which is also in history known as the love feast. And when you go into that in the history, the love feast is what you know as Passover. So in history, outsiders also called it the love feast. But then it says, first, I'm going to read that again. It says, the love feast first described in Paul's first epistle to the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians 11 and 17. Then it says, Pliny finds these Christians guiltless of any crimes. To establish their innocence, he even interrogates under torture 2 maidservants. Now, for you non-messianists who be saying that the people who follow Christ, that the New Testament is written by Romans, then why are they being persecuted by these very people who are following their God? They're being tortured.
Right.
My brother brought out earlier the Annals of Imperial Rome, page 216 and 217, that the Messiah suffered the extreme penalty under the reign of Tiberius and Pontius Pilate. So then it goes on to say, who are called deaconess. It says, nonetheless, he ordered the execution of those who refuse to renounce their adhesion to the sect or the group because of their willful obstinacy. Then it goes on to say, Katumeka, disobedience to a judicial command, he asked the emperor's advice on how to proceed with the investigation. So now we're seeing here he needed advice. It says Trajan in reply commends his governor's actions. Though Christians are not to be sought out once indicted, they are to be punished if they refuse to deny their religion or their worship and to worship the Roman gods. Now, wait a minute. They worship gods like Jupiter, which was Zeus. They worship Mithra, you know, these deities. So it says, thus the emperor makes it clear that the adhesion to Christianity constitutes a crime, even if no criminal activity is involved. Isn't that something? Man, it say Trajan asks, however, that the anonymous denunciations be described as contrary to the spirit of age. Now, for time's sake, I'm going to jump to page 278 real quick. All right, it says, in the meantime, the procedure I have followed in the cases of those brought before me as Christians, I asked them whether they were Christians. If they admitted it, I asked them a second. And he asked them again. And a third time, threatening them with execution. Those who remained obdurate, I ordered to be executed. For I was in no doubt whatever it was which they were confessing, that their obstinacy and their inflexible stubbornness should at any rate be punished. Others similarly lunatic were Roman citizens, so I registered them as due to be sent back to Rome. Now wait a minute, that sounds familiar. Remember that was going to persecute Paul in Acts the 22nd chapter, right? But he was a Roman citizen, so you know he played the Roman citizen card. So we get to see that this is also historical. That the same thing that we read in Acts 22, that we see that they were actually doing that in history. So we know that what we call the New Testament is historical. It's definitely historical. Yeah. Hallelujah. So then it's saying, later in the course of the hearings, as usually happens, the charge rippled outwards and more examples appeared. An anonymous document was published containing the names of many, those who denied that they were or had been Christians, and called upon the gods after me, and with incense and wine made obeisance to your statue, which I had ordered to be brought in together with images of the gods for this very purpose, and who moreover curse Christ. Brian Israel, right, straight up. It say, those who are truly Christian cannot, it is said, be forced to do any of these things are ordered to be acquitted. So in other words, if they curse Christ, then they was let go. They were set free. You see what I'm saying? So that lets you know right then and there, there's no way that these Romans followed any deity that we call Christ in what we call the New Testament. Huh? Which one?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Pull that real quick.
Now he was reading about the Rome, the Caesar, the Caesar, right?
Tiberius,
right? I mean,
Trajan, Emperor Trajan.
Right? So here's the book of Eusebius, right? Okay, you see what I'm saying? And Eusebius was a scholar of his days, right? A Christian scholar. The book of Eusebius was known as Eusebius pamphlet, was a historian and Christian exegete. I don't know what that word means, so let me look it up right quick. Also a person skilled in exegesis to perform exegeses on person who practiced what the hell is the word, man? Person skilled in religious. It goes into especially a religious text. So he's dealing with the religious text, right? So he's an expert in that. And Christian debater. This word polymus, it means debater. He became the bishop of Caesarea Maritima about 314 AD. Together with Pamphilus, he together with Pamphilus, he was a scholar of the biblical canon and regarded as extremely learned Christian at his time. So I'm reading page 38, right, about Tiberius Caesar, which was the second Caesar. Like he got him in that book right there. Can you show him in that book right there, Tiberius Caesar? Right there.
Oh, this one, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And what year he was?
Tiberius Caesar, the second ruler of what we call the Roman Empire today.
Okay. See that? Now check this out. He's talking about they're trying to say that Yahushua is a god that the Romans made, right? Right? That's what these niggas trying to say, right? But check this out. This is book 2, chapter 2. How Tiberius was affected when informed by Pilate respecting Christ. Right? Check this out. The fame of our Lord, remarkable resurrection and ascension, being now spread abroad according to an ancient custom prevalent among the rulers of the nations to communicate novel occurrences to the emperor, that nothing might escape him. So the emperor got to know everything that's going down, right? Pontius Pilate transmitted to Tiberius an account of the circumstances concerning the resurrection of our Lord from the dead, the report of which have already been spread throughout all Palestine. So now we got historical records of a Roman Caesar, Tiberius, and it's mentioned Pontius Pilate, which is all through the scripture in the book that we was reading earlier, right? Which is eyewitnesses of Hamashiach Yahushua, and which we're going to continue to go into, right? It says, Tiberius referred the matter to the Senate, right? But it is said that they rejected the proposition in appearance because they had not examined this subject first, right? So they trying to say is this man is a god because he died and was resurrected, right? And ascended, right? So according to ancient law among the Romans, that no one should be ranked among the gods unless by a vote and decree of the Senate. So the Senate determines who is going to be a god, right? So if Christ was a Roman god, he had to get voted in. And why would not they vote their own god in if they made him? If they made him, they would have made him a god. Let's finish reading. Let's see what they say. Right? So it says, according to ancient law among the Romans, that no man should be ranked among the gods unless by a vote and decree of the Senate. In reality, however, the salutary doctrine of the gospel needs no confirmation and cooperation of men. So he dropped that bomb in there, right? The Senate of the Romans, therefore, having thus rejected the doctrine of our Savior as it was announced, and Tiberius still continuing to hold the opinion he had became cherished. Tiberius still continued to hold the opinion he had before cherished, formed no unreasonable project against the doctrine of Yahushua. So right here, Tiberius was not even Tiberius seemed like he was going along or believed in Hamashiach. Okay, then it says, this is the testimony of Tertullian, a man who made himself accurately acquainted with the laws of the Romans, and besides his eminency in other respects, was particularly distinguished among the eminent men of Rome. Okay, and it's going to read this last paragraph. In his apology for the Christians in the Roman tongue, which also translated into the Greek, to give his own words, he wrote after the following manner. Point 5, in order to give also an account of these laws from their origin, it was an ancient decree that no one should be consecrated a god by the emperor before it had been approved by the Senate. All right? So why would they not make Christ a Roman god if they made him? It sounds it surpassed all their gods. To this day, they talk. He talked all over the world. What are you talking about? Okay, we argue about Christ all over the world, all day, every day. Marcus Aurelius had done this in reference to a certain idol, Al Bernice, so that this evidence have been given in favor of our doctrine. The divine dignity is conferred among you by the decrees of men. Unless a God pleases men, he is not made a God. Right? So was not the Jews was pleased in the Most High, but the Romans wasn't, obviously, because they killed him and they didn't make him a God. They didn't solidify Christ as their deity. Okay? Right? So it says, unless a God pleases men, he is not made a God. And thus, according to this procedure, it is necessary that man should be propitious to the God. Tiberius, therefore, under whom the name of Christ was spread throughout the world, because he ruled, what year did he rule, Tiberius?
Tiberius
19, I think it was 19.
Let's
look it up. Now, this is before the Council of Nicaea, right? Yeah. Way before the Third Temple Council. Okay?
What season are you talking about?
Tiberius.
14 AD to 37.
14,
yeah.
The year 14 to 37 AD. Okay? And Yahushua was around. Okay?
Yeah.
Hold on. So it says, Tiberius, therefore, under whom the name of Christ was spread throughout the world, when this doctrine was announced to him from Palestine, where it first began, communicated with the Senate, being obviously pleased with the doctrine, but the Senate, as they had not proposed the measure, rejected it. But he continued in his opinion, threatening death to the accusers of the Christians, a divine providence infusing this into his mind, that the gospel, having free scope in its commencement, might spread everywhere over the world. And has not spread everywhere over the world. So why did not the Roman Senate vote Christ as their God if they made him up? What are you talking about, man? You see what I'm saying? You cut right there. You cut right there. And this Tiberius was showing love to Mashiach right there.
All right, so grab Acts 18 right quick. The
Acts
next
18.
Source we going into is the book called 12 Caesars. We're going to go into this book real quick. We're going to hit page 195. And we're going to see what Caesar himself wrote. All right?
Acts 18 and 5?
No, Acts 18, we starting in 1.
Acts 18 and 1.
1 and 2. 12 Caesars.
Paul makes tents at Corinth. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth,
which is the areas of territory of Greece today. Come on.
And found a certain Jew named Aquila,
right?
Born in Pontus.
Born where?
In Pontus.
Come on.
Lately come from Italy,
right?
With his wife Priscilla.
Now watch this part. Come on.
Because that Claudius.
Who?
Claudius.
Who?
Claudius.
That's Claudius Caesar. Right? What about Claudius?
He went to Hebrew. Had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome.
He had commanded what?
All Jews to depart from Rome and came on to them. So
now we got Claudius Caesar right here. Right here. Claudius Caesar. See that? Claudius Caesar. And it tells you that he ruled between 41 to 54 AD. So now we're about to read about that. Page 195.
195.
Yep. 12 Caesars. What it say?
Like this one right here?
Yep.
Because the Jews at Rome.
The Jews where?
Because the Jews at Rome.
Right.
Caused continuous disturbances at the instigation of Christus.
That's Christ.
Christus. He expelled them from the city.
Didn't we just read that in Acts 18? We just read that. Read that verse again. Acts 18 again. Let's read that again.
18:1. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla.
Now here we go.
Because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to be departed from Rome and came onto them.
So here it is right then and there. We see that that's definitely historical. The next thing I'm going to bring out is another book. Another book I'm going to bring out is Claudius the God by Claudius Caesar. Speaking of Claudius. And this is page 282. And It says,
I can read it.
yeah, no doubt.
You read it for you.
Yeah.
Brother. Where we at?
Right here.
All right.
So here it is. We about to read in these letters that Claudius himself wrote. Claudius the God is the name of the book. Let's get it.
Philo asked, from where did this Herod Agrippa suddenly appear?
Now we all know who Herod is. Now you know there was many Herods. You had Herod the Great, Herod the First, Herod Agrippa the Second. You know there were so you had different Herods. So Philo was a man that was convinced that Herod himself was the Messiah that was spoke about in the Torah and the Tanakh. So let's see what we finna read about this real quick, because it goes to show you that even these people back then, even though he was going off and figured that Herod was the Messiah, they all understood and knew that there was somebody that was going to be coming. All right, so let's read.
I thought that he was at Antioch. The Albarach said, from Edom?
Right. Go ahead.
Wearing a purple cloak, Basra purple, and stepping like a king. I cannot help believing that in spite of his former follies and vicissitude, he is destined to play a great part in our national history.
Go ahead.
He is a man of outstanding talent, and now that he has definitely pledged himself, Philo certainly grew very serious and began to quote the prophet Isaiah.
So when Philo heard this, he began to thinking about Isaiah 63. Go ahead.
Who is this that cometh from Edom? With dyed garments from Basra?
Remember this Isaiah 63. Come on.
This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength.
Right.
I have trodden the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. But the day of vengeance is in my heart.
Come on.
And the year of my redeem is come. Philo has long been convinced that the Messiah is at hand.
Right.
He has written several volumes on that head.
So here it is. Philo was convinced that the Messiah was coming, but he didn't believe that who we call the Hamashiach Christ was the Messiah, though. But go ahead.
He builds his argument on the text in Numbers about the star of Jacob.
That's Numbers 24:17. Go ahead.
And reconciles it with a number of others in the prophets.
Come on.
He's quite crazy, poor man. And now that Herod has become so powerful and has kept his promise about observing the law so faithfully and done the Alexandrian Jews,
because you know there were Israelites that lived in Alexandria, Egypt. Go ahead.
So many services. Philo is really convinced that Herod is the Messiah.
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead. Right.
Dang.
Go ahead.
Finally decided him was the discovery that Herod's family, though an Edomite one, going off, is descended from a son of Zedekiah, the last king of Judah before the captivity.
Right.
This Zedekiah managed to smuggle his newly born son out of the city and get him safe to friends in Edom before Nebuchadnezzar captured the palace. Right? Herod seems to have been persuaded by Philo that he really is the Messiah.
Right. You know, he was going on.
That he is destined not only to redeem the Jews from the yoke of the foreigner, but to combine all the children of Shem together in a great spiritual empire under the rule of the Lord of hosts. This man is wilding, son. Moab, Ammon, Ishmael, everything. Midianites. This is the only possible explanation. This is the only possible explanation for his recent political activities, which I must confess make me feel extremely nervous for the future.
Right.
Indeed, there seems to be altogether too much religion in the air.
So Claudia, who's writing this, didn't like this. All right, he said, look, this is worrying me about the future. There's too much religion going on in the air. But go ahead.
It's a bad sign.
He said it's a what kind of sign?
It's a bad sign.
Now, what else is, let's see what it said it reminded him of. Go
It
ahead.
reminds me of what you said when we had that mystical idiot.
That who?
That mystical idiot.
Who is he talking about?
John the Baptist.
Oh, snap. So now you're talking bad about John the Baptist.
Through the Old Testament.
So on our side, that's a good thing because that lets you know that they ain't right in favor of people who are followers of the Mashiach.
Right.
The enemies.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Straight up. You can't talk bad about somebody who didn't exist.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
Talk about the tooth fairy.
But go ahead and say it reminds me.
It reminds me of what you said when we had that mystical idiot.
Mm-hmm.
John the Baptist beheaded. What?
Isn't that Matthew 14, 1 through 12?
Huh?
Come on.
Sheesh. Religious fanaticism
Mm-hmm.
is the most dangerous form of insanity.
Now let's see what else he said. Ain't that crazy? Let's see what else he said.
I have said too much,
Right.
I think,
Uh-huh.
but I can trust you, my dear mother,
Because he was writing to his mother. Go ahead.
not to let the story go any further.
Oh, so they ain't want this to go any further because they fear for the future that this is madness. Don't let this go any further. Go ahead.
Burn this when you have read it.
So he told her to burn it. Look at that. He told her to burn it. Now let's go to page 330. Let's go to page 330.
It's possible.
Huh?
That was
There's a
Shaol.
mission.
Where we at right now, right here?
30 seconds.
We're gonna go here.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is page 330,
Yep.
right? Ending paragraph.
Yep.
At any rate, Joshua used James' philosophical
Now
gleanings.
this Joshua is who? Matter of fact, read that part right there. Who's he talking about?
Well, Joshua ben Joseph.
Joshua, the son of Joseph. So we know who he's talking about, who you call Jesus. Now let's go on back on down.
At any rate, Joshua used James' philosophical gleanings
Uh-huh.
from Gadarah
Right.
and his own knowledge of the Jewish scriptures
Uh-huh.
to compose a synthetic religion of his own.
Now remember, this is what the enemies, this is their outlook or their view
Right.
on Christ, right? And his teachings. Come on.
But a religion without authority is nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So secretly at first, and then publicly, he identified himself with the Messiah
Uh-huh.
and spoke as Moses had once spoken.
Oh, like unto Moses. I like
Ball.
the ball.
Boom.
Go ahead. So the
Even the
enemies,
heathens know.
right? Yeah, even the heathens.
Even the heathens know. But not you Old Testament Israelites. Damn, you should be ashamed of thyself.
Come on with it.
As if from the mouth of God.
Come on.
He had a most ingenious mind
Mm-hmm.
and used to deliver his message
Right.
in the form of simple fables
Right.
with moral endings.
So you had the parables that he
Oh,
spoke of. Go ahead.
He also claimed to perform supernatural cures
Uh-huh.
and miracles.
Uh-huh.
Signs and wonders.
Come on now.
He had made himself very troublesome
Mm-hmm.
to the Jewish religious
There
authorities,
go your Pharisees. Come on.
whom he accused of combining strict observance of the law with rapaciousness
Mm-hmm.
and insolent towards the poor.
Come on.
There are many good stories told of him.
Oh, look at that. Many, right?
It sounds like that John, right?
Uh-huh.
There's many things that he did, right?
Let's get it.
One of his political opponents.
Now pay very close attention to this part. So it says many good stories of him. They said one of his political opponents, right? Come on.
Tried to catch him out once,
Right?
by asking him whether it was right
Mm-hmm.
for I can't say this word. A conscientious Jew to pay the Roman imperial tax.
Isn't that Matthew chapter 22, 15 through 22? When they came there, asked him who's that on his coin. That's in what we call the New Testament. Let's read.
If he had answered
Now look,
yes.
now remember, he never said yes or no in Matthew 22. Remember, he asked him, well, who's that on the coin? So now we get in the historical aspect on if he would have happened if he would have said yes. So read that again. If he answered
If he had answered yes,
right,
he would have lost his hold on the nationalists.
oh, look at that. What else?
Nationalists, man.
Mhm.
He's not about everybody. He's not about everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You're under Judaism, you about everybody. Get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
If he had answered no,
Right.
he would have made himself liable
Right.
for arrest by the civil authority.
Look at that. Go ahead.
So he pretended to be quite innocent about the matter
Uh-huh.
and asked to be shown the amount of money due before he would make any answer.
Go ahead.
They showed him a silver piece and said, look, every householder has to pay this much. He asked, whose head is this on the coin?
Mm-hmm.
I can't read Latin.
Mm-hmm.
They said it's the head of Tiberius Caesar.
Oh.
We just read about him.
Uh-huh.
And we're reading about him again.
Yes, we are.
Huh?
Uh-huh.
Hallelujah.
That's right.
Right? I got so happy I just lost myself. Now, Tiberius Caesar, of course, he said, why? If it's Caesar's coin, pay it to Caesar.
Go ahead.
But don't fail to pay God what is due to the Most High.
Come on.
They also try to catch him out on points of Jewish law.
Right? Remember, they was always trying to catch him up. Go ahead.
But he always
He what?
But he always
Uh-huh.
had chapter and verse
ready.
ready. Is that scripture say, be ready always?
Be ready always.
Answer?
Hey, can we read that again, brother?
Right?
Hey, we gonna read that again.
They
bro.
also tried to catch him out on points of Jewish law.
Now think about it. Prime example is Matthew chapter 19, 1-9, when the Pharisees asked them, can you put away your wife in any cause? Remember, they tried to hit him with Deuteronomy 24, but he took them back to Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so always had chapter and verse ready. Come on.
But he always
Uh-huh.
had chapter and verse ready to justify his teaching.
Come on.
Eventually, however, he compromised himself as a religious heretic.
Uh-huh.
And the end of the story was that our old friend,
Now notice the one who's writing, he said, our what?
old
He
friend,
said, our old friend. Come on.
Pontius Pilate,
Oh, there it is again. Come on.
then governor of Judea and Samaria,
Right?
arrested him for creating popular disorders
Uh-huh.
and handed him seditions, handed him over for trial by the supreme Jewish religious courts of Jerusalem,
Uh-huh.
where he was condemned to death.
He was what?
He was condemned to death
Right?
for blasphemy.
Come on.
When I come to think of it, he did die the same year as the goddess Lavia,
Uh-huh.
and his followers did desert him,
Uh-huh.
so that much of the prophecy you quote was fulfilled in him.
So even
Even
these
that part.
heathens still
Even in
understood that, dang, now I think about it, he did die the same year as the goddess Lavia. But however, most of what you're saying, it was actually fulfilled by him. So here it is, they were having trouble to understand, well, who is the Messiah? So you had some that was saying Herod, some saying this person, but this heathen is acknowledging that much of what you just got done saying was actually fulfilled by this man. Let's continue.
And there are now people who say that he was God, and that they saw his soul ascend to heaven after his death, just like Augustus, just like in that in Eusebius.
Yeah.
It's about him being a god and ascended.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
All coming together.
All coming together.
No
on with it.
history. All right. And there are now people who say that he was a god, and that they saw his soul ascend to heaven after his death, just like Augustus and Drusillus, and claim that he was born at Bethlehem, and that he fulfilled all other messianic prophecies.
Come on.
In one way or another.
Oh, and one way or another, they understood this.
The heathen.
But
I propose to stop this nonsense.
Hold on, now, listen what he just said.
Tight.
He said, what he say? What he want to do?
But I propose to stop this nonsense,
right,
once and for all.
Come on.
Only 3 days ago.
Now watch this. Now pay attention to this, y'all. Only what?
Only 3 days ago.
What did he do?
I arrested
and
executed James.
Damn, isn't that biblical?
Right? Is that James?
That's Acts chapter 12. Come on with it.
Who seems to be the chief intellect of the movement. And in that book, it goes into James 2 over there.
Yeah.
Okay. I arrested and executed James, who seems to be the chief intelligent of the movement.
Now watch what he's going to say this next part.
I hope to recapture.
I hope to who?
I hope to recapture.
To recapture, right? I mean to catch somebody again, right? To recapture and what else?
And execute another leading fanatic.
Called who?
Called Simon.
Didn't he break out of prison? Isn't that in the Bible? Damn, that's Acts 12. Dang, let's keep reading.
Arrested at the same time. Who somehow escaped from prison.
That's biblical. Bomb. We got a few more. We got a few more. Straight up. We got a few more. Right, straight up. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just go into the next one. All right, I got one more and I'm going to the next. All right. Yeah, now this is a book called The Council of Nicaea 325 AD. So I'll read a little bit out of this. This is going into what really happened at the Council of Nicaea, because many people were saying that Christ was invented at the Council of Nicaea. And that's not actually what happened during the Council of Nicaea. So I'll read a little bit, you know what I'm saying, for time's sake, because I know, you know, other people want to get up and do their thing real quick. Okay, so first I'm going to look at, get some of the intro real quick. Okay, it says, and this is the book right here. It says, the Council of Nicaea, which is modern-day Turkey, was convened in AD 325 by Emperor Constantine, sole ruler of the Roman Empire. Close to 300 bishops from the empire came to Nicaea, or Turkey, to standardize some of the Christian church practices, but most importantly, to settle a theological controversy among the bishops that weakened and threatening the stability of the Roman Empire. So now we see right here that there were bishops who already followed Christ, and they came to settle a dispute at what we know as the Council of Nicaea. Then it goes on to say, now this was one of the disputes. Was Jesus Christ the only begotten Son of God, equal to God, and true God from true God from true God, or was he subordinate and inferior to God the Father, as preached by a priest named Arius? Now that's very important to remember Arius, because Arius is pretty much the main player on the field when dealing with the Council of Nicaea. All right, then it says both sides has followers, and the arguments, even street fights. Sound like Nehemiah when we talking about the physical. So people was banging over this back then. It say both sides have followers, and the arguments, even street fights between clergy and lay people on opposing sides. So you want to learn that when they came together, had these discussions, man, sometimes they got the banging. It got physical.
What that happen when we go out in the streets?
Hey, it got physical.
That happens when we go out and hit these highways and byways.
Man, and you're gonna learn later, this really pissed Constantine off. Like he got heated at this. So it says, caused Constantine great concern that the unity and the stability of the empire was at risk. Because think about it, if you got people on both sides fighting, your empire is up for grabs. So at anything, you want to establish peace, and you want everybody to come together because it's easy to control your household. You know what I'm saying? So then he goes on to say, Christians have been in Rome and elsewhere since Jesus' time. Now, wait a minute.
Wow.
Wait a minute.
Wow.
This ain't got nothing to do with the Bible.
They invented.
Man, no,
Right.
exactly.
Why you talking about a man
Exactly.
Right.
It's
Talking
say,
about a man you're about to invent.
yeah, that's why I want them.
Talking about a man you're about
That
to
you're about
invent.
to invent, right? That's why I have to bring this out because you even get the people in the conscious community that say that Christ was invented at the Council of Nicaea.
What drugs are you using?
Right. It say, but it was not until the edict of Milan in AD 313, right before Nicaea, it says that ended Christian persecution and gave Christians freedom of worship with same rights and privileges as the pagans. It's going to be important. We're going to talk about. So we're going to jump real quick to page 8 for time's sake. All right. Yeah, I'm going to start in verse 8. All right. It says, prior to his departure, the envoy had briefed the emperor on the theological differences that divided the Christians. So here it is now, this is being brought to his attention on what is going on in his empire. All right, so we're gonna find out tonight what led to Nicaea. Why did they even have a council? Like what led up to it before having this? And was Christ invented at Nicaea? All right, go ahead.
Go ahead, right, Alexandria?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna start right. On one side of the dispute was the Bishop of Alexandria.
So now we see, because remember, there's two sides of the fence. On one side of the fence was what?
On one side of the dispute was the Bishop of Alexandria.
And you're gonna find out his name was Arius, who was going off. Go ahead.
Powerful leader who believed that Mashiach was God. His theology rested on the premise that Jesus Christ was equal to God the Father.
So he thought, to his understanding, he said that Christ was equal to the Most High. Before we do, grab John 14:28 right quick. Let's grab that real quick, because we know that that ain't the case. They're not equal. Let's read.
It's the same thing as in the 14 what? 28?
John 14:28.
St. John 14:28. Ye have heard now, I said unto you, I go away and come again unto you. If ye love me, you would rejoice, because I said, I go on to the Father.
Right.
For the Father is greater than I.
So you see that he even acknowledged that his Father is greater than him. All right, let's read.
Okay. So his theology rested on the premise that Jesus Christ, or Mashiach Yahushua, was equal to God the Father, the only begotten Son of the Most High, born of the Father, before all ages, of same substance as the Father, divine by nature, eternal, and sent to earth to save humanity from sin. The bishop not only controlled the activities and finances of the church, its people in Alexandria and surrounding territories, but his influence reached into the secular aspects of the empire, especially judicial and legal. In addition, his close relationship with the emperor gave him further leverage. His many followers were vocal and passionate.
Go ahead.
His opponent was a popular priest named Arius.
That was the guy who he went up against. Go ahead.
Also from Alexandria. He preached that Yahushua was not God, but subordinate to the Most High, the Father, not the natural Son of the Father, and not of the same substance as the Father, but an adopted Son sent to earth to save humanity from sin. In the minds of Arius and his followers, Yahushua was only human, not divine, and not eternal. And there was a time when he did not exist. Arius also had many followers who were just as passionate. Constantine could not understand the reason for the dispute. After all,
so here it is. You had these people that did believe in Christ, but they didn't believe in the divinity of him. So you had some that believed that he wasn't the natural son, and some that said that he was. Kind of like today when you see people that disagree on how the Messiah was born. Was he born through Joseph, or was he born through the Virgin Mary? So it's still the same concept still exists to this day. But we're going to see how Constantine, how he couldn't understand these people believe in Christ, why they can't just come together. You know what I'm saying? But let's see what he said.
Constantine could not understand the reason for the dispute. After all, Christians agree that Mashiach was a holy man, and the son of the father, natural or adopted.
Natural what?
Natural or adopted.
Right.
It did not matter.
So he felt like it didn't even matter. Y'all believe in Christ. What is y'all doing? Go ahead.
Whether he was God or not, whether he was God or the Most High or
Right.
not was not important. All right. He wondered why such pettiness would lead to hostilities and fighting and escalate to the point that chaos replaced order and jeopardized the security of his empire.
Right.
Whether God or not made no difference to him,
Right.
and should to anyone else. Waiting for his secretary's arrival, Constantine's thoughts took him back in time. The path to becoming the sole emperor of the Roman Empire had not been easy. He had won the battle at the Milvian Bridge 13 years ago. A great victory in the name of a Mashiach Yahushua.
Because we learn in history, he actually worshiped Mithra, but then he stopped and dropped that god, and he began to worship Christ. So let's read.
However, the circumstances at the time had forced him to share power with Licanius, his sister's husband. After 12 years of shared power, Licanius, I'm not sure you're saying it wrong, in the eyes of Constantine, had become a threat, and all indications were that he may seize power for himself. It was then that Constantine decided to eliminate him, his younger nephew, barely 9 years old, so as not to leave a line to dethrone
him. You put an image of a Constantine? Go ahead.
For a brief moment, guilt overtook him as the image of his sister's inconsolable face appeared before him.
Come on.
He recalled the words of a Mashiach Yahushua had said to him 13 years ago, "Do not murder, for it cannot be reversed." Yet he quickly Yet he quickly dismissed the words and instead vowed to ask the Most High power again for forgiveness.
Jump to page 12. With a few more pages and we up out of here. You know, next man, you know. Go ahead.
Your Majesty, the bishop began, I bring troubling news from Alexandria.
So now we go, they stirring up again. These followers of Christ is back at it again. Go ahead.
Infighting continues between
What did he say?
Christians. Infighting continues between Christians.
Right.
The situation is more serious than I thought.
Right.
Are they still quarreling whether Yahushua is God or not? Yes, sir, sire. And the arguments have escalated to physical force. Street fighting has turned deadly, and both sides are committed.
So they out there bodying people over what they believe. So this, like people are arguing today. So here it is. You see, they got the fighting, and you see this is all over the city. They out there bodying people over what they believe about Christ. Come on.
The bishop of Alexandria expelled the priest from Aries from the church. Bishops of the empire, priests, and ordinary citizens are at war, defending their position with violence.
With what?
With violence.
Go ahead.
There is chaos on the streets of Alexandria.
What else?
And may spread to other cities. People are getting hurt. Life in Alexandria has become brutal and dangerous. It is not what a Mashiach intended. What is wrong with these Christians? Constantine said in disgust.
So he is mad. Go ahead.
Aren't they supposed to love each other?
Right. Go ahead.
Don't they all believe that Yahushua is the Redeemer?
Right. Go ahead.
What does it matter whether he is God or not?
Go ahead.
Sire, it matters. This is a serious theological issue which must be resolved if Christianity is to flourish. This controversy has been around for generations and now it's gotten out of hand. It is time to settle it once and for all. Right. And we're settling it once and for all.
That's right.
Mashiach Yahushua is King and the Messiah. Okay?
Yeah.
Image of Constantine on the records. His wife. And his wife.
From the book.
Okay?
Icons, masterpieces of Russian arts.
Icons. See that? See that? And we go in there, we see Mr. Page. Yeah. Oh, my bad.
So I'm gonna go ahead and end it for that because there's a lot I want to bring out, but you know, it's for time's sake. But I do got a video on YouTube. It goes into the historical proof of Christ. You can check it out at youtube.com/JudahYisrael314. That's JUDAHYISRAEL 314. And it goes into Christ Yahushua, his historical proof. You can actually see it. I go into great detail, bring out more historical references. You got pictures, a slide, you know what I'm saying? You got all kind of information that you can check out. But for time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and, end it there.
Hey, Malachi Maccabee, right? Downtown music. Non-believers talking about that the Hamashiach Christ Yahushua ain't king, man. Guardians of the throne, a Christ Yahushua, Yahushua, Messianic to the bone, until the casket drop. Guardians of the throne, a Christ Yahushua, Messianic to the bone, until the casket drop. Open your Torah, class and session, chopping you non-Messianics with your watered down doctrine. Christ threw all out the prophecy, deceitful philosophy, claiming Joseph the father, 21st century Pharisees. Deep down you don't believe, you niggas quoting scriptures can't explain what it means. Well guess what, nigga, Christ is king of righteousness in this war that we fighting in. If the New Testament temple wouldn't let me, all of his writings is. It's three that bear record, Father, Spirit, and Son. Since the beginning, Yaka 9, 1 and 1. Spiritual heathens bucking shots at you non-believers. Salvation through the faith of Jesus in this resurrection. Romans 8 and 11. So I bow and give reverence to the right hand of the throne. Worship my lock, shalom. You heathens best repent and keep your head to the ground. Shots fired, non-Messianic down. Bow. Guardians of the throne, a Christ Yahushua, Messianic to the bone, until the casket drop. Guardians of the throne, a Christ Yahushua, Messianic to the bone, until the casket drop.
Look, guardians of the throne, bloodline, I'm a descendant. Hamashiach is the king, I care less who I offended. If you ain't walking with them, you don't want to be against it. We've been warned about you, fourth tribe, let's get it. We the oldest of the Israelite bloodline. The Most High gave us spark, so it's our part to make it shine. From the 1st to the 12th tribe, we be interlocking the fence. They think we rocking, but we pushing to stop it. I'm about to pull a cord, me original pagan slave. Learn from Daniel Solomon on how to slay a hater. Compassion in my heart, but I be trying to pave a favor. Soul or your riches, yeah, you got to make a wager. The Most High got my back in this. Souls never slacking this. Get the people what they want and then we double back at this. No looking back at this. Yahweh got my back at this. Yahweh and Maccabee, my bros got my back at this.
Guardians of the throne, a Christ Yahushua, Messianic to the bone, until the casket drop. Guardians of the throne, a Christ Yahushua, Messianic to the bone, until the casket drop.
Talk a good spit with shallow words that come from hollow lips, enticing with his speech, but see, Google and a scholarship. Born up in the house of bread, but called the God of Nazarene. Bereshit Baraza, YSF after Elohim. Way before the us in our image, you see him on the scene. Alpha and Omega, the first and last letters though, and letters make words. So in the beginning was the word, and the word was with Yahweh. The same became flesh, so ain't no stress. Got Jewish enemies, we call them Zion Lex. Order of MELCHIZEDEK, to guard the throne, I take your neck. Fancy getting speech, Ben Levy, he ain't bout that life. Believe the records are tampered, then you ain't bout the Christ. Torah base, believe in the Messiah, that's to knock faith. Isaiah 53 to Psalms 110, his rightful place. High beyond the scripts, but Moses spoke of him. Pray to the Father in his name, nigga, by Hashem.
Guardians of the throne, a Christ Yahushua, Messianic to the bone, until the casket drop. Guardians of the throne, a Christ Yahushua, Messianic
Downtown music on the beat.